I see a few folks still joining and connecting to audio, so we'll get started here in just a moment. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Jamie Adkison Hennessy, Director of Admissions and Recruitment. On behalf of the entire admissions team here at the Brown School, I want to thank you all for being here and joining us for day 4 of Admitted Students Week. We see lots of familiar faces. I appreciate many of you for joining us for another session today. All of today's sessions are focusing on valuing and supporting our students and how we think we do that really well here at the Brown School. We're really excited to share this session with you. Some of our colleagues from Academic and Student Affairs are here to talk about some of the distinctive services and supports that we offer here for students, along with several of our current students and some alum of the Brown School to share some of their experiences as well. So we're going to be led today by our Assistant Dean for Academic and Student Affairs, our fearless leader, Danielle Bristow, who I'm sure many of you are going to come to know and love as much as we all do. So Danielle, you want to go ahead and take it away?
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks. Big, huge thank you. For those of you who have like your screens on or you want to give a big thumbs up or a celebration, yay, or a happy smiling face to our admissions team. They've been working really hard and are really been so excited about the engagement that's happened over the last last week. And actually, since you've been interested in the Brown School, I know that they provide amazing, really important like VIP service. Like you all are very important to us. And I hope that, and we know that we continue that tradition of admissions and like the really personal touch that we do and to make sure students are supported. So we're really excited to share our supports with you. Just kind of give you some highlights. We can't cover everything today, but I should probably introduce myself. My name is Danielle Bristow. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm the Assistant Dean for Student Affairs. And what that basically means is that I get to work with all of our enrollment services and in student engagement teams. So everything from admissions all the way through Career Services that support students inside and outside of the classroom. And so we're going to share some of those things with you today. Everybody is going to, everybody's going to introduce themselves in a little bit later during our presentation, but wanted to show that the tremendous support that we have here, both with student interest, current students, some alums, and our amazing colleagues from across academic and student affairs in the school that are here to support students, but everybody will introduce themselves a little bit later. So I want to talk about like our student-centered approach. You know, it is really, we really pride ourselves on wraparound student support. Like from the minute you tell the admissions office that you're interested in the Brown School, we want to make sure that you feel supported from day 1 to graduation and actually beyond. And Josh can talk a little bit about that and the beyond. You know, it's really important that we want to ensure your personal and your professional success. Nothing makes us more excited than watching our students walk across the stage, receive their diploma, get hooded, and then ring the bell. I think that the Career Services either still or does not have a bell. Maybe I'm gonna make sure Josh brings the bell back, you know, when jobs happen. So we want to make sure that, you know, that your personal and professional support is there for you. Because we also know that there's going to be bumps in the road. You know, you're not going to be able to do 2 to 3 years at the Brown School without experiencing something academically or personally. And we know that, and we want to be proactive and really help you through those times, whether it be something related to in-courses and you need some support with writing, or something personal is going on and you need some support navigating resources, mental health, disability resources, that we have people that our full-time job is really to help and support you and connect you across the campus. So as you can see, like here's a kind of a smattering of what we have at the Brown School and beyond, both at the Brown School and at Washington University, kind of highlighting some of the offices and departments that we work with. But then in the gray, I also want to show that it's really important that we ask for student input, because you are the ones experiencing the Brown School in the classroom, in community, and we want to make sure that we're always improving, doing quality improvement. So we do things like town halls with the deans where we listen to students. We have dean's meetings with student leaders. We do a lot of surveys. And so your input as a student is really important to creating the community that we have at the Brown School. And then, well, so what can the staff at the Brown School help me with? And really, I'd love to say kind of anything. So everything from career advice to advising, academic support. So I kind of want to share with you, I looked at my calendar, and today alone, so this is what when we talk about student support, I just want to tell you what I did. So it's 12:08. So between 8 a.m. and noon today, I talked to a student about advising and talked about fall classes. I connected a student over email with some mental health support services. We have an incoming student who wanted to talk to somebody about disability resources, so we made that connection happen. I had coffee with a colleague from our relationship and sexual violence office to talk about how we can connect and coordinate. Let's see, I answered questions about field education in an earlier session. And yeah, and so it says at the bottom, you know, we really are here for anything. You just need to ask. No question is too big or too small. When it says the printer isn't working, I get lots of questions about Danielle, the printer's not working. I don't fix the printers, but I know who does. And I'm also going to tell the story that one time a student asked me to save a squirrel, and I did that too. So yeah, Jada, I did. So, you know, we really do everything, you know, whatever can help students both inside and outside the classroom. We are really here for you. So today we're going to highlight 4 of our services. Like I said, we have a lot, and I want to make sure that our colleagues can share not only the services, but we have students and alumni that are here that are going to share their stories. Because for us, name and story is really important. Everybody comes to the Brown School and Washington University with a name and a story, and we really want to get to know your story. So especially for those of you who ever meet with me for the first time and you have a concern, the first thing we're not going to talk about is your concern. I'm going to hear your story. I'm going to ask you, where's home? How'd you get here? What do you want to do? And how can we support you to move forward? So your story is really important. That's why our students are bringing their stories together today too. So with that, I'm going to let my colleagues and my student and alumni friends share. So I'd like for Jacque and Kevin to go ahead and share.
Thanks, Danielle. I'm really glad to see you all today, and I'm really happy to be invited for this portion of the presentation. So my name is Jacque Martinez Pullen. I use she, her pronouns. I am the Chief of Staff to Dean McKay and the Assistant Dean for Strategic Initiatives. And so I'm here today to talk about holistic advising. Danielle, if you want to go to the next.
Kevin, can Kevin go introduce himself real quickly? Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Casey. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I am a first-year MSW grad student.
Great, thank you, Kevin. And the way that we're going to do this presentation is I'm going to talk a little bit about academics advising, what we do, and then Kevin's going to come in with kind of his experience and what he can share about being a student and the advising support that he gets. So I think that when you think about a holistic advising model, sometimes people will ask me, well, what is that? What does that mean? And it means that we're really here to support the whole student, not just advising about classes or practicum, but also about what are some of the issues that you have. How can we help support you making your transition into the Brown School and then even out of the Brown School with Career Services. And as Danielle as mentioned before, you know, you have 1.5 to 2 years to 3 years here, depending on which track and which program you're in. And things will come up. You know, you may have problems with a certain area that you need. You might have food insecurity. How can we help you how can we help you so that you're able to do your best work at school? So that's really kind of our focus. We really want you to feel that support and that you know where to go for resources. I think a lot of what I do and what Danielle does as well is connect people to resources. So if you have a question about how can I get support from disability resources, we can connect you with that department, follow up, making sure that you are getting the services that you need. I've also done a lot of connections with faculty. You know, when you come in as a first year student, sometimes you've already said what concentration you think you're interested in, but you might have questions. You might have a particular area you think you want to do a specialization in, and I'm happy to connect my advisees to those faculty members. So I will often send a note and say, hey, you know, Joe, this is my advisee and he'd really like to talk about, you know, entrepreneurial area. So there's different things that we do and connections that we can make. We also, like I said, if you're having personal concerns or things like that, connect you to mental health resources. If you are having food insecurity, we can help connect you with Bear Bites, which is a program that we have to help with food issues, and then, you know, other things that we can do as well. And we're also here to really walk you through what the programs are, to help you with the technical pieces of it. What are the policies? What classes do you have to take, things like that, and as well as connect you with those concentration chairs and advisors who will help you in your second semester and second year as well. So those are just a few of the things that we do. And I think what I've learned from being an advisor is just that, you know, students are so important to the Brown School, and we really are here to support you all and to help you with the transition. I think that first semester, and especially, you know, when you're first kind of getting ready to come here, is really critical. And that's what we try to do, is make that as easy as possible for you. And so at this point, I am going to hand it over to Kevin to talk a little bit about his experience and where he's been able to be supported by the advising services.
Absolutely, thank you. So I think one of the main things to recognize, as Danielle and Jacque have shown and expressed, there are a lot of resources available to you and a lot of ways that the Brown School wants to support you. And for myself, either by the time I got to the Brown School or once I actually needed something specific, I might have forgotten one or two of these things existed or remembered details about it, but didn't quite know what it was called or how to access it. And basically that's okay. Um, Especially early on, Jacque was one of my first point people. I would email her and let her know, hey, this is what's going on with me. Sometimes I would ask if there's something available to me, either specifically or in general. And other times, Jacque would ask me, like, have you checked out this resource? Have you contacted this person? Have you contacted this group or this department, the writing lab, the mental health, career services? She was even really helpful in providing assistance and resources that helped ease my transition into St. Louis, which was wonderful. Last semester, I was having a lot of problems with my laptop. Jacque had told me about tax-free weekend in case I wanted to buy a new laptop. She even gave me info for something called the Tech Den, where they were able to diagnose my laptop and even let me borrow one for a short amount of time. And even Jacque even let me know that I might qualify for additional funding to help pay for a laptop, which I was actually able to obtain. These things were super helpful for me to continue with my schooling because without a laptop, especially in a virtual or mostly virtual environment, I wasn't really sure what to do. Also, my dependence on technology in general, having a laptop was really helpful in my personal life. As time went by and I made more connections, found other levels of support and knew of other resources, I would contact Jacque less frequently. She was still really helpful in talking with about changing my concentration and going over timelines and making sure that I had contact info for the chairs of each concentration that I was considering. And she still checks in with me from time to time, but the amount that I would personally reach out to her at this point has lessened. But again, as Danielle mentioned, if you need something, ask. Really important to ask. And so that's pretty much my story about that. And Jacque will talk a little further about the process and scheduling of academic advising.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate you sharing your experiences. And there was also a question in the chat, so I'll answer that in just a second. So academic advisors are assigned in June before you come to the Brown School. And we reach out to each of our advisees and kind of explain what the process is going to be about registering and what you need to do. Admissions and student supports are awesome in giving you everything you need. You have these beautiful, resources to go to and little videos to watch. Like, everything is great. There's orientation materials that you'll use and really go back to. But from an academic advisor perspective, we do make sure you have everything that you need. We walk you through as many questions as you have and talk about the curriculum, what your class schedule will look like, we're even there, right? When you're registering, I mean, virtually I'm there, available for questions as you're getting ready to register and get everything set up for your first semester. We also at that time even make referrals if you have a need for disability services. We try and do that early so that when you get here or you start classes, you're already set up. So we try and move that forward. You also will start learning more about field education. You'll learn about what your practicum, when you do your foundation practicum, typically in the spring, if you're on a regular 2-year cycle for MSWs. And you also, that's about the time you get your field advisor as well. So you'll work with them. There's also a seminar, and Danielle, you might help make sure I got this right, that they have during orientation that talks about your foundation practicum and field education in general. So you'll go through that. And they're really supportive. I know that when we are starting to talk about foundation practicum in the fall to get ready for it in the spring, we always connect in with field education so that they can offer as much advice and support that students need. So then typically you declare your concentration and you get your faculty concentration advisors in August if you're advanced standing, or January if you're in a regular program, regular 2 years. And then that advisor will help you more with the professional development, some of the academic part of it as well. They may know more of the ins and outs. For example, like Ryan Lindsay, I had a student who was interested in switching to mental health, and I could tell him the overview of mental health, but Ryan's really going to know the ins and outs of what that looks like. And so he's able to advise specifically around that. And then your second year, you'll probably work more with your faculty and concentration advisor. But again, remember that your academic advisor is there for the full time of your program. So whatever kinds of questions or concerns arise, we're here to help and support you.
Thank you so much, Jackie and Kevin. Yeah, just to kind of clarify a little bit with field. So in the fall, field education hosts open office hours. So you can go to anybody at any time. They post those hours. You can go to them. If you are advanced standing, you'll be kind of going pretty quickly into concentration practicum. If you're on a regular 2-year MSW, you will take a course in the fall called Foundations of Field, which is really a 3-hour workshop to get you ready for field. And then when you take a seminar in your spring semester is when you really work more closely with one of our field faculty members. And then if you're in the MPH program, you will take that Foundations of Field Education in the spring. And typically our MPH students are doing their field work in the summer between their first and second years. And social policy students do their internship typically in the summer or kind of put together. And then we have a field faculty for that as well. So I do want to kind of just mention one thing. What I really appreciate about what Kevin said is there's a lot of resources, and we love an acronym at Washington University. So there's acronyms for everything and fun names for everything. You don't have to remember any of that. All you have to remember is the email address or the phone number of your advisor. And that's what our job is, to like connect you to that. I always tell people at orientation, you're going to hear so many resources, you're going to be overwhelmed. All you need to do is know one person's name and say, I think there's that Danielle lady or that Miriam lady, and she said something about something, and I don't know what that is, but she'll help me. And that's what our job is, to navigate that. So thank you for sharing that. All right, I'm going to now turn it over to Deshawn and Vivian and Jada.
Hello, everyone. This is a section about student involvement. I am Deshawn Scott. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm the Assistant Director for Student Engagement. I'm gonna let Vivian and Jada introduce themselves.
Hey everybody, I'm Vivian Talamantes. I use both they, them, and she, her pronouns. I am the current SEC MSW co-chair. I am also a first-year MSW student who is concentrating in mental health and specializing in sexual health and education.
Hello, I am Jada Loro. I'm a first-year MPH student. I am the SEC MPH co-chair. I use he, him, his, and yeah. I am also global health.
So y'all probably wondering, why should I get involved in student activities as a graduate student? You are probably already did it undergrad, like, okay, now I'm coming back and I want to get involved. Is that possible? So at the Brown School, we cultivate tailored student experiences that support students' belonging, learning, and voice. So our goal here at WashU at the Brown School is for every student to be able to connect and find community. The STC is the student's voice at WashU, providing quality leadership and accountability by recognizing that strength arises from diversity, engagement, and dialogue. Next slide. So belonging. We have our affinity groups on campus, which focus on community and inclusivity, sorry. Our work exists through relationships of trust and mutual respect that create a sense of belonging. We cultivate a community through a connected collective network. We collaborate with WashU community to shape a supportive and safe environment. We honor the intersectionality of everyone. We create inviting spaces such as Black Student Union and Sexual Gender Alliance to learn from each other and build more complex ways of being. We value and advocate for an equitable campus and community. Next. And if you don't see anything like affinity group that we have, you can create your own. So part of learning, there's 3 components of it, which I have is outside the classroom learning experiences, development, and well-being. So outside the classroom experiences, we believe that students can learn inside and outside the classroom. We have content-based student groups such as Sales for Society, Journal Club, Global Health at the Brown School, and Next Move, where you can engage with your peers and learn from each other. With development, we prioritize the development of the whole person so that everyone will realize their full potential. We educate and provide experiences for lifelong learning through engagement with staff members, programs, services, and facilities. So everyone on this call, on this Zoom call, are great people to help out with your development. The last component is well-being. We create campus environments that promotes wellness as a foundation of a productive and positive experience. So we respect each other and hold one another accountable for practices that help our community thrive, such as our peer-to-peer mentoring program, Bear Bites, and our communication lab. And next slide. And the last thing is the voice, which is the Student Coordinated Council. So the mission statement of SCC is that they ensure that the Brown School remains a global competitor in public health, social work, and social policy education through the promotion of a culture of diversity, empowerment, and cultural competence. So I'm gonna let Vivian and Jada explain what they do, how they advocate for students, and why they decided to get involved with SCC.
All right, I'll go first. So as I mentioned before, I'm a first year MSW student, so this is my 2nd semester. Still can't believe I'm finishing up my 1st year, that's wild. And since the very beginning, like I always had this phrase I would kind of call my incoming cohort, is that we were the inaugural like COVID class of 2020. We were like the first cohort to come in, and you know, our admitted students weekend was scheduled to be in person, and then the pandemic happened. Everything kind of got canceled. The Brown School still facilitated some like virtual components, but yeah, it was definitely a big shift because, you know, we came in, we applied, we had this idea that we were going to be in person, and then the pandemic happened and all of that kind of shifted. And so with that shift, there was, of course, a lot of transition space that kind of like needed to happen and needed to come through, because you know, we had students who were unable to come to St. Louis. We had students who were losing their jobs. We had students who had insecure like income or housing. We had students who were just experiencing like a plethora of like life experiences that happen normally, but were only amplified and exacerbated because of the pandemic. And coming into that and seeing the kind of struggles and concerns that my peers had, both like I said, regular concerns, and then concerns that were either specific to or exacerbated by the pandemic, really kind of like inspired me to run for Student Coordinating Council to address these concerns and needs, whether that be things like curriculum reform to make curriculum like more accessible and more diverse, to make curriculum, you know, to help that, like I said, that transition piece with curriculum, transferring what was originally meant for in-person, that's like the pedagogy that the Brown School kind of lays its curriculum on how to transition that to like Zoomiversity and Zoom learning, whether that be establishing like connections for students with, as Danielle was saying, all these different departments, whether it be, you know, increasing transparency about some of the decisions that were made regarding like surveillance testing, or even more recently, like COVID vaccine distribution, and kind of creating that bridge between the administration and students. That's kind of like all that we've been able to do throughout our SEC tenure so far. And we're really looking forward to keep on doing that work, even as things get better and progress with the pandemic, because there's still, like I said, those base level concerns and needs that we as SEC try to amplify and do our best to solve. Yeah. Jada?
So in a smaller scale, in the master's, so public health, social policy, or social work, what you're trying to do is advocate for the people who are around you in your community. So advocating, promoting, just trying to make the life a little better. I think something that happened with the pandemic and just this Zoom world was this kind of, this is more of a personal thing, this disconnect with seeing the community when you're not around the community. And so for me, that was a big part of it, especially going into my first year. And it wasn't until I'll shout him out on this one, Josh. Because I remember when SEC was, there was emails going out like, oh, if you're interested in SEC, apply. I had no interest. I was fully just on, let me just get through this 2 years and then move forward to this Zoom world. But then it was me getting nominated for SEC. And I was just like, I've only been here for like 2 months, 3 months. How does anybody know me to the point that they would nominate me in any way? And it was, so that was kind of a start of just asking, okay, so what would I be able to do with SEC? What is my interest in SEC? Where can SEC move forward with? And I think one of the key aspects of the Brown School is the fact that we try to implement the teachings that we are given here. And I think what I learned from a lot of my professors who keep saying is the fact that you look around, look at your students and the friends that you make here, and look at them not just as fellow students, but as fellow colleagues in the future. And I think that's hard sometimes to see until you're actually doing it. And I think SEC has been pretty good really implementing that and seeing that in action, because of the fact that as I look around and working with my fellow board members, there was a lot of different people, so social work, social policy, public health. Sometimes you don't get to experience the other side of the school. But with an SEC, you do. You're working with them week by week, and you're trying to do these things. And it sometimes feels like, as it should, that you're fellow colleagues or you work together. And so a part of that is you're actually showing that action being implemented. And so some of the things that we've advocated and some of the things we've done is because we're trying to make the Brown School a little closer during this Zoom time and just trying to make it better. And so I think SEC has been pretty good in just showing that those actions and those words that we speak in our classroom can actually be implemented now instead of waiting until it was after it was 2 years.
Thanks, Deshaun, Vivian, and Jada. I think it's been amazing to see what our students and our student groups have been able to accomplish, even doing it on virtually. I know that BOPI, which is our Brown Alliance for Asian Pacific Islanders, did like a pickup where they provided little gift bags and people could pick them up, and they went home and kind of had a Zoom together. And we're hoping that as things open up that we'll be able to do more and more events in person, because I'm really looking forward to seeing people. And I really appreciate SEC's advocacy on a lot of things that have been happening and the resources that they provide our community. We are going to leave all the questions to the end. And so I'm going to go to our next group, which is Miriam and Mara and Carly.
Wonderful. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, everyone, and welcome and congratulations to you all. I'm thrilled to be with you here today to tell you a little bit more about the peer-to-peer mentoring program. My name is Miriam Joelson. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm actually a graduate of the Brown School. I got my MSW here in 2019 and then joined the staff. I now serve as the Academic and Student Affairs Coordinator. So anything regarding student support, I am try to be involved in. Mara and Carly, I'm so thrilled that you are here today as well to talk about the peer-to-peer mentoring program and your experiences. Could you briefly introduce yourself? Let's start with Mara.
Hi all, my name is Mara, I use she, her pronouns. Like it says, I'm a dual MSW and PH student. I'm a first year. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Carly. I'm a second year MPH MSW. And I apologize, I keep like turning my head. I'm fostering this like 6-week-old puppy and he's a handful. So that's why I'm kind of everywhere.
I'm in a similar situation. There's might be a puppy barking next door. So I'll just give you a quick overview of the program, and then we'll hear a little bit more from Mara and Carly about why they got involved and what the program has been like for them. So we started the peer-to-peer mentoring program last year with very strong input from our student leaders that you heard from just now, so Student Coordinating Council and their peers. And there's really 3 ways to get involved in the program. There are the lead mentors. Those are 2nd to 3rd year upper class students who act as a liaison to the administration. So they work closely with me to really support our peer mentors with programming and administrative support. There are the peer mentors. So these are 2nd and 3rd year students who volunteer to really help the first years get acclimated to the Brown School and meet new people. And then of course there are the mentees, and this is the most important category for you to hear about today. And these are first year students who have the opportunity to select based on bios and mutual interests, peer mentors that they would like to be teamed up with so that they can learn from them. We really think there are tons of benefits involved for both the mentees as well as the mentors and the lead mentors. So mentees are able to meet current students and make new friends. They can learn about life at the Brown School and learn about social events and the affinity groups that you just heard about. Discuss academic and career trajectories and those favorite classes that you definitely want to take. And they can find support navigating resources both at the Brown School and beyond at Washington University. For mentors and lead mentors, there are also a lot of benefits. Again, you can meet new students and make friends, build leadership and mentoring skills. It looks great on a resume, and contribute positively to the Brown School community. One interesting thing, I was really interested in higher education social work, so this is really interesting to me. You can learn a lot about higher ed administration by getting involved as a peer mentor as well. So now let's just give Mara and Carly some time to tell us about, what brought you to the program and what's the program been like for you?
Carly, do you want to go first?
Sure. Okay. So like I said, I'm a second year. I definitely had somewhat of a challenge transitioning to graduate school. I was working on the East Coast where I'm from and moved to St. Louis, knowing very few people. Luckily I had like Danielle to lean on. But once they created this mentor program, because it is the first year, I thought, wow, like if I can help someone transition better, obviously that's something I'm interested in. It's a great way for people to ask the questions they don't want to ask staff. And now my mentee is actually like one of my best friends here, which I think is really great. So, and I think there are a few mentor-mentee relationships that are like that. So it's a really great program, and we're always there to answer the questions that you don't want to ask, like Danielle or Miriam, or feel dead, and can always get the answers if we don't know them.
Yeah, I think Carly kind of put how I felt. I'm also like best friends with my mentor as a first year, but I think one thing is also just like having that one connection to someone who is in the first year can like help just expand your network, especially during like COVID, like Jada and Vivian said. So my mentor has been connected to almost like all the other first year dual degree students just like through me. Like people be like, hey, can I get like your mentor's number? And I'm like, yeah, let me ask. And then I've also asked my first year friends to connect with their mentors. And it just really helps you like expand your connection, because you might never have classes with the second or first years or second or third years. But it's just a way to really, yeah, like they answer your questions. If you have like silly practicum questions that you're like, Ragini and Jenny, who are in the Office of Field Education, like they don't need to respond to my email. Like they're busy people. Like, yo, what's up? Like, just like, where should I apply? What have you heard? Like, it's a lot of like just informal advising in some aspects. And my mentor also like will text me and be like, yo, take a break. Like, I know you're doing too much. And it's just someone who's kind of like got your back on a lot of different levels, who's, you know, still like a peer, but has knowledge that you don't yet have and you will have. And hopefully, you know, I'm hoping to be a mentor this next year and continue to share this knowledge in a semi-informal way. And it's been great. Like I said, I'm like very, very good friends with my mentor, and we just went to the Missouri Botanical Gardens. If you don't live in Missouri, it is blooming. It is so pretty, and I love it.
That's spectacular. Thank you so much to you both for being here and for being so involved with the program.
I really want to say that the peer-to-peer program is one of those examples that really speaks to the power of the student voice, because Miriam and I had been talking about this peer-to-peer program. And for those of you who don't know higher ed, we move at glacier speeds. So we're like, we need to have everything in place in the right way and think about it. And then two students, Jesse Smith Appleson and Aza, I don't want to pronounce her last name incorrectly, just said, let's just do it. Just do it. And they really helped us and pushed. And so it was really great because it gave us the impetus to just kind of do it. And this is the first year. And to hear Carly and Mara's stories is really just absolutely inspiring. And we look forward to the next year. And it's also great because we're looking at, you know, hearing back from our mentors what additional training that they need. So we did like there's some training at the beginning of the year to make sure that they understand and they know the resources, so that when students have questions, they're you're not constantly having to go to Miriam, but they have the information to really support students even in a crisis situation. So thanks, y'all. Josh and team, you're up.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. My name is Josh Walehwa. I serve as the Director for Career Services at the Brown School. I don't have all these people here to talk to you. This is my team. I just wanted to make sure they got shouts out. But I'm going to bring Carly back on, and I want to have Edwin as well introduce themselves.
I'm Carly again. I'm speaking now for Career Services.
Hey, everyone. Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me okay? Awesome. So again, my name is Edwin Zuluaga. I am actually an alumni from December of 2018. I feel like it's been yesterday, but it's been almost 3 years now. With COVID, you just don't know the timing, right? I'm happy to share anything that you would like to know about how to best utilize the resources you already have. As you can see here, I have my own office, and this is through the help of my amazing peer and mentor, Josh, who's helped along the way, and how I even utilize career services. So I'm happy to share more about that experience.
Thank you both. And we'll definitely make sure that we get a chance for y'all to expand on that, and make sure to save your questions to the end of the presentation, because we want to answer as much as possible. So this next slide we have here just kind of tells typically when you're on campus, and we're looking forward to an increased time on campus. We're located in Helen Hall, which is a beautiful new building. We have 2 full-time members, 3 part-time staff members, and typically 2 student staff members. We focus on leadership, career development, and right now all of our appointments are via Zoom, so they're remote, but we can do phone. I know some of you are like me, you're old school, and a nice phone call works a lot better. And we can do advising via email if you want to send your resumes in, and if you don't have time to connect, we can actually do that as well. As far as the types of appointments that we take on, which is on the next slide, we actually do quite a range of things here. So, again, one-on-one or in groups, we talk about, general career exploration. Some of you may feel really good about your long resume you submitted through the admissions process, but now it's time to consider practicums. And then for some of you, eventually write careers or even future further education like a PhD or an MD or maybe another master's program. And so we can help you get that ready for those respective areas. I push mock interviews. Some of us have interview anxiety. If that's you on the line, it's okay. We can work with you on that. We just encourage practice, practice, practice. You typically ask small groups, how many of you have a LinkedIn and is it updated? I'm not going to embarrass this group right now. I just know that this job has made me step up my LinkedIn game, and now we are prepared to help you make sure you're ready to go. And then at the end, networking, which we think is really important. 80% of the jobs are connected through networks. So we really want to work with you on that, and ultimately the uncomfortable conversation for some of you, like salary negotiations. And again, this is done through one-on-one meetings. We do programs, we bring in employers, we connect you with alumni because we have a vast alumni network. We do workshops. And let me just take a moment before I turn it over to my colleagues, my student colleagues and alumni colleagues. You all are, like Jada said earlier, and Jada, by the way, thank you for saying that, because every day I wake up and I ask to serve somebody, but you never know if it's been helpful or not. And so just hearing your story really just gave me some chills. But you all are in positions or exploring careers of service in your respective ways. And so we're here to help you through that transition. And our Career Services is here for you, not only while you're a student, but as an alumni. And I've talked to alumni from the 90s, I even had alumni from 1980 recently contact us for support because they're getting ready to retire and they're looking for further opportunities. With that being said, Carly and Edwin, would you talk about how you've utilized the Career Services?
Happy to go first if you want, Carly. I don't mind. So I used Career Services since I was a student. I didn't even wait before graduation. And the reason why is because, a diploma is just a piece of paper. And I think one of the things that you start realizing is you're going to need a lot of help in terms of, getting navigation, especially if you're not from St. Louis. I'm not from St. Louis, so I definitely did a lot of mock interviews. Even though I consider myself an extrovert, I still needed to practice, like the interviewing process. What's it going to look like? I got my resume butchered up. I got my LinkedIn butchered up, to the help of Career Services. I think I was annoying in a good way. And I think that's the power of being a student, right? Is where you can ignore the heck out of all these leaders at the Brown School, but they're here for you. And that's what they get paid for to do, right? So it's almost like, utilize that to your benefit. And I did, from day one, I was sending my resume over to Career Services and whatnot. And it got me pretty far in life. I mean, it's been my third year and this is my third promotion now. And thanks to Josh, I remember about 2 months ago, I was like, hey, I know, you're in the Career Services now, I need help. And he was happy to, within seconds, I actually texted him instead of an email, but then I did the formal email process and we got a Zoom call and he was happy to walk. I was like, okay, Edwin, you sounds like you're excited. What do you got? What? So I told him, I had an offer. I'm trying to transition out. What do you think? So he helped me with some of the interview process, and I did very well. This is why I'm not, where I have like my own office and whatnot. So I'm really happy and really excited. It's been a good ride and I appreciate Josh for just being able to support and guide me through that interviewing process, and just being able to be available has been extremely helpful.
Okay, so like I said, I'm a second year, and I'm a dual, so I have to do a dual practicum, and I'm from the East Coast, and I really wanted to do a practicum back on the East Coast this summer. And there's practicum fairs, but they're mainly St. Louis-based organizations. So I kind of took it upon myself to cold email 20 plus organizations to try to find a practicum on the East Coast. And with that, I wanted to make sure I was sending good emails. My resume was up to date. My LinkedIn was up to date. I was, able to write a cover letter if needed. And that's why I reached out to Career Services. I've met with Josh plenty of times, often last minute, just being like, can we meet for 5 minutes? So it's really, I think all of Career Services is super responsive and can help in any way possible. I got the practicum that I wanted to get, and I do credit part of that to Career Services and the field education, but helping me with that. So I think it's really great because I was able to look through to see if there were any alumni at these organizations, and just Career Service can help in collaboration with field education. And like Danielle said, there's so many resources at the Brown School, and I'm all about utilizing all the resources possible. So this is just another great resource, and I'm happy to answer any questions about field education and Career Services.
Thank you both. And, it wouldn't be me on a call without saying that you should come here. So, if you're still questioning whether you should come to the Brown School or not, you're hearing from these tremendous colleagues. This is just a sampling of people who are dedicating their lives of service and to help you out. And so we really appreciate your time. Danielle.
Josh, there's a question in the chat box that says, does Career Services assist with MSW licensure, such as LCSW exam prep or workshops?
Yeah, so we actually do some workshops around LMSW acquisition here in the state of Missouri. We can coach you through some of your state-specific things, but because every state, a lot of states are really different, and we'll have to work with you one-on-one. There is a licensure exam, exam prep class that you can take that we market. It's not through us, but it's an opportunity for you. There is a cost associated with that. And so we can talk about that. And other ways we can help you through professional development is we have some funds set aside called the career development funds. And some of those can go towards certain other professional development if you think those are going to be helpful in preparing you. But depending on what state you're looking to get licensure, you'll just meet with us one-on-one and we'll talk to you about that specific state and work with you to figure out as much as possible to support you.
Thanks, Josh, and thanks everybody. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because that's the last of my slides. So this is an opportunity. We have about 12 minutes left, and we really wanted to make sure that we had enough time for students who have joined us today to ask any questions that you have. It could be about what we've talked about. It could be something completely different. It can be about St. Louis. It can be about, we kind of say that we're sort of the triage. We may not have the answer, but we're going to figure out the answer for you. So, okay, first question: how much will classes and activities be in person this fall versus on Zoom, or do we know yet? So currently, I would say almost 50% of our classes are half and half. So we have about 50% in person and 50% online. And the reason for that is really just space capacity, as well as, as CDC and public health guidelines. And so right now, that's what it looks like. We would like to increase the number of in-person classes. That is our goal. That is going to depend on the CDC and what they tell us and public health guidelines. So classes, you may see some things change, like kind of ending around the middle of the summer. So we're hoping that we'll be more in person in classes specifically. We haven't been given guidance right now on activities, but as again, public health guidance shows us we can do, like right now, we can do events in person outside of about 30 people for about an hour. And so we haven't really moved forward a lot with that because I think students are kind of like, let's just get the semester over. So we're really hoping, especially for orientation. So we are going to be doing for our second years, like kind of a reorientation, because there's many of our students who've never stepped foot on campus. So we're going to make sure that our second year students can like find the buildings and the stairs. And for our first years, orientation is probably going to be mostly online because we have a space that fits 300 people. And when we have, we can't cram you all in there. So there will be there will be opportunities to meet in smaller groups. We're hoping, again, all depending on CDC and public health guidelines at the time. Let's see. When can we apply to be a mentee with the peer-to-peer program? Miriam.
This summer. Stay tuned. You'll probably hear about it we're hoping late June. Does that sound about right, Danielle? Yeah.
Yeah, and there's always a time. There's not like a timeline. So if you don't sign up for the peer-to-peer, then all of a sudden it's September, and you're like, wait a minute, I want to do that peer-to-peer thing. It sounds super cool. You can ask Miriam, and we can get you connected. So be looking out for your email. Just be prepared. We love email at every higher ed. Higher ed just loves an email. So just make sure you're reading it, at least skimming it. When will international be able to join the Brown School community? Jamie, do you want to take that?
Yeah, so you'll be issued your I-20s soon. I know that you're one of our CSLA applicants, right, Mevriban? I believe you are. So we're going to be working with you really closely on to get your I-20, and international students are all able to join up to 30 days in advance of the date on their I-20s. So we encourage you to get here as early as possible of that date, so that you have some time to settle in and get acclimated to St. Louis, and before it's time to get ready for orientation and get started with classes. So we'll be in touch with you with some more details about that soon.
Kind of going back to orientation, everybody should sort of plan their schedule. I think information is it is on the admissions website for admitted students. We do have about a week long of orientation. And so actually orientation is in 3 phases. First, phase 1 will be an online orientation, which is modules. It'll kind of step you through the resources, like at the Brown School and at WashU. So like, what is the Habit Health and Wellness Center, and how do I park? So it's kind of like, and it's at your own pace and at your own time. And then about a couple of weeks before in-person orientation, we'll provide you in a Canvas course, kind of like more in-depth reading. So we'll talk about like, what is the landscape of St. Louis? So it's not about like, the best restaurants, but like, what's the historical context of racism in St. Louis, and how do we have those conversations that are really important? And then there will be like some level of in-person / Zoom orientation, which was really, we focus on community building. We really focus on creating community at the Brown School as best we can, both via Zoom and in person. So kind of just block your calendar for a summer of fun. So if people want to either raise their hands and ask their questions or put them in the chat box, we have about 7 minutes left to answer some questions. I know people, if not, I have questions. I'm bad at silence. All right, I'm gonna throw one out there for any of our current students who want to take this, or even Edwin. So we've talked a lot about the Brown School resources. Can you share with us maybe like a WashU resource that you have found particularly helpful at all? I mean, there are, but like, can someone share like a WashU resource that they have connected with? Not everybody at once.
Well,
Give me an example of a WashU resource, Danielle.
I don't know, disability resources, HABIF, RSVP, parking, intramurals, club sports, the rec center.
Oh yeah, all of the above. Yeah, take advantage. I would say take advantage if you're in campus. Don't get stuck to the Brown School bubble. Just out and venture. There's a lot of resources available to you as a WashU student. You know, there's even like member groups. Like I'm part of the Latinx community, so I joined Latinx. There's like a Latinx group within the Brown School, but also within outside, which is like the Hispanic Association, and it's with business school students, engineering school, and it's a great way to collaborate and learn from like-minded folks and just to learn from other people. So I take full advantage if you're on campus to utilize those resources.
Mara, were you gonna share something?
Yeah, another one that wasn't mentioned, I know that there's a decent number of Brown School students in like the WashU, like it's like a union, like a student union group. And so that's both for undergrad and grad students. There's also a like grad student, like kind of like SCC, but for all of like WashU grad students. So they just had their like election for this next school year. So that's out there. I have a friend who's part of like the environmental, like an environmental group at WashU, who is focused on trying to like be more sustainable both at WashU and the greater St. Louis community. So, right, there's a ton of student groups. It's probably just like your undergrad, and there's a ton of groups that you can join as a grad student that do have a significant grad student population.
So yeah, like, so we have what's called the Lieberman Center, and that is when it's in person. I'm in our Danforth University Center, which also has food. And so they also do some, so we have Brown School specific groups, and then there's some graduate student groups that would cross the law school and the business school, which is really great to kind of meet people outside of the Brown School. I know Miriam had a question. Jamie, you may want to take that, or Sarah personally, so they'll respond to you about that specifically. The question was, any specific groups more or less likely to be in person? I think that it's both and. I think every student group would be really interested in being in person if they can. So I think we'll provide those opportunities. What's the information Disability Services requires to assist in accommodations or assistance? If somebody can grab the DR, we're gonna put the Disability Resources website in the chat box, and they have a whole web page about exactly what documentation you need. I would say if you are interested in working with Disability Resources, to do it start in the summer so that it's all set up and ready to go, so that you can have your accommodations and your letters ready, and we can work with you. Your advisor can work with you on what that might look like inside the classroom, support you in working with your faculty. The gym is great. Yes, it is. And there's GPC. Oh, there we go. Everybody threw it in.
If I could like add something about DR, I would definitely just say like, don't feel weird or anything about asking people who are not directly affiliated with DR to help you. Like Danielle just mentioned, like your advisor. I know that my advisor was supremely helpful in kind of like helping me navigate the DR process and be kind of like just like a witness / accomplice in like what I was trying to accomplish in getting my necessary accommodations, and also kind of like translating maybe accommodations that I had in undergrad to the Brown School specifically and their program. And that was super helpful for me, and I would definitely recommend. Also just while we're talking about like students with disabilities, as a disabled student myself, I have quite appreciated HABIF. The physicians there have been really helpful in seeing me, treating me, and also like referring me out to specialists either at like BJC or like in the area. So I would definitely like take advantage of those resources if you need like a starting place to kind of see, okay, like I need this specialty or specialist. Let me go to Habif and like talk through my options.
It's
And
definitely not too. Oh, go ahead, Vivian.
I was just gonna say that goes for mental health services as well.
Yeah, I was going to actually mention that. Like, if you know ahead of time that there's certain things that you want to make sure you put in place, start working with us now, and we'll help you. You know, you don't want to get here and then start the process. So we can work with you from now until you get here to set up, you know, your disability accommodations. Like Vivian said, especially with mental health, if you know, so we do have a, you know, great mental health services at the Habif Health and Wellness Center. They do typically, their primary focus is brief outcome therapy. So you typically won't see a counselor at Habif like you'll see them about every 2 or 3 weeks. And if you know that you're interested in like kind of more ongoing sustained weekly support, we'll want to refer you out to the community. So we can start doing that this summer. There's a case manager at Habif that works with you with the insurance, with kind of what you're interested in, what kind of therapy you want. And we can start setting you up now so that when you get to St. Louis, you can, you know, start that relationship. A lot of our community providers are also doing telehealth, and will most likely continue to telehealth also. So it's never too early. We have 1 minute left. So I don't know if Jamie or Sarah, someone from admissions, wants to wrap us up. I know that I will stay. We'll probably stop the recording, but I'm able to stay a little bit longer and answer any questions that you have. So Jamie, take us home.
Thanks, Danielle, and everyone, all of our colleagues and students, current students. Edwin, it was good to see you. It's been a long time. Congratulations on your new promotion. I want to thank you all for joining us today. I hope you've gotten some useful information. Again, thanks for sticking with us for day 4. Still hope to see you tomorrow for our last session with Dean McKay, and then there'll be some additional virtual office hours with lots of our community members to answer any more specific questions that you might have, where you'll be able to pop in and just to join one-on-one with folks. So thank you all so much for being here. We appreciate it. We hope to see you soon.
Yeah, thank you. So again, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. Any of my colleagues who need to hop off or something else, please feel free to. Thank you to everybody who's here, especially our student and our alumni presenters. And other than that, have an awesome day, but I'll hang out.